Talk on CBTV. I'm Jake Aronson, here with our co-hosts, Sam, Jimmy, and Jake. Today our topic is lacrosse versus basketball. Sam, what's your opinion?
Well, I believe that they're both two great sports, but I will favor basketball a little more. One, because it's more intense and it's more fun to watch because more people score, and when more people score, it draws my attention to the TV more. And Jimmy, do you want to?
Interesting, because I like both sports. I think both sports are fantastic in what they attempt to do. The whole aspect of lacrosse, it's a stick sport, a racket sport, a sport where you actually have to control the ball with stick in hand and so forth within the cup and so forth. And you're moving the ball, somewhat like basketball to a degree, but basketball, it's a much bigger object to control. It's a much bigger sphere to have to control, and you're controlling it from the floor to your hand to your eye contact areas where you're throwing it distances and so forth. Whereas lacrosse, you may see a 60-foot pass, but it's not that often. And the scoring aspect, like you said, I like the whole idea of scoring, defense, which lacrosse has, scoring, defense, but then you get to the rebound aspect, which is phenomenal to me. What I like about lacrosse is that it is a game that the positioning of players, particularly in the defensive area, critical. The positioning of players in the offensive area, how the ball moves back and forth up and down the field. It's a much longer field. It's a much bigger situation than just a basketball game where it's 96 by 52. But what happens in the confines of both areas, it's fascinating to me. So I like all sports. So I don't want to pick one necessarily over the other, particularly since I have not played lacrosse in my life as much as I played basketball. Your thoughts?
I agree with Sam. I personally think that basketball is a better sport. Mm-hmm. You don't need as many things to be able to play basketball.
The equipment, good idea. Good point.
All you need is a ball and like something to aim for, which could be a net, but you don't really need a net.
Just a hoop.
Right.
Interesting.
And it's not that hard to just pick up a basketball and start shooting on something. Mm-hmm. It's not as hard because you're going to get somewhat close if you're older and you have the strength. As in lacrosse, you need padding because it's a really hard ball. You need all the
headgear,
sticks.
face protection, right?
Right. You need all the masks. Yeah. And basketball is America's sport, and it's what we do in America. Mm-hmm. We play basketball. Right. We're one of the only countries that our main sport is basketball.
One of our main sports.
Right.
One of our main sports is basketball. Mm-hmm. Baseball is our national pastime. Yeah. Football is our number one sport. Lacrosse would be far down that list. Believe me, you get the volleyball probably before you would get the lacrosse. But since you play it, why is it so fascinating to you?
To me, lacrosse is the perfect combination of a bunch of sports. You see, in lacrosse, you see the field of almost soccer. I'm talking about field lacrosse. You see nets kind of like soccer, but they're shaped in a triangle. You have different combinations of these sports. A lot of running, like track and field, and a smaller ball.
Hockey would have to be an example too.
It's like it's kind of like hockey on a field, and I like hockey. I think it's perfect amount of scoring. In basketball, I think a goal. I don't know if we call it field goal. Mm-hmm. A field goal doesn't really mean that much in a game until the end. When say it's a close game. We had the Maccabee game here, which took place first at the rec hall, then moved up to the upper courts. And that game, there wasn't a lot of scoring at the beginning, and it doesn't really matter until the end, where it was really close. Mm-hmm. And the lead kept switching between Maccabee and the senior all-stars. Mm-hmm. So in lacrosse, there's a perfect amount of scoring where every goal means a lot. So say you're up, and goals can be scored fairly quickly. There's a lot of drop balls, and you said it's harder to control this bigger ball, which is the basketball, but it's also, I think, harder to control a small, slippery rubber ball that is a spherical object. Because
Can you dribble a basketball
yes, I can.
with both hands proficiently? I mean, you can dribble a basketball with both hands through a defense. Tell the truth now.
No.
Tell the truth. Yeah, you. I'm not talking about the rest of the world. I'm talking about you. If I put you on a basketball court right now, could you actually play this game against 7-foot people? See, I've played against 7-foot people. There's a big difference when everybody's about the same size as in lacrosse. Everybody is at this level. You don't have 7-footers running around there throwing your shot off the court. You don't have people where you're trying to go through traffic where you can't even see the basket sometimes. Whereas there's a big old net there at the end as far as lacrosse is concerned. Well, it's not really that big. It's big enough with a goalie there. Boom, boom, boom. I got to get it around him. But I'm looking at how you talk about, I mean, I know that's your sport and you love it. You play goal. Well, you would be the equivalent to the center in basketball, swatting away shots, defending the rim, and so forth. I don't really, like, as I said from the beginning, like what I was telling Sam, I don't want to pick one sport over the other. I think they both have outstanding qualities to them that it makes me really like them. I've played a little lacrosse and I enjoyed it, but I played basketball too. And the better athletes, I'm talking about physical, running up and down the field and so forth, they're great athletes in both. You run up and down a basketball court for 40 straight minutes, and you tell me that every field goal doesn't mean something. It means something because it's the cumulative score at the end. So we better have more field goals than you have. So when you say, well, one goal, I mean, with 2 or 3 goals, won't make that much of a difference? Yes, it does. Because remember, what happens in a basketball game in the first quarter will dictate what happens in the fourth quarter when you get to the end. So all this is a setup to get down to the end. This is one of the knocks that I have on people to talk about pro basketball against college basketball. College basketball is much more exciting. No, it's not. Because the best players in the world are playing at the pro level. It's hard to score. If I put you on a court with a bunch of lacrosse players, on a field with a bunch of lacrosse players, you might score. Now, I don't know about this little dribbling skills, like I said. I'll put you on a court with some of the young people that I teach. You would probably not score a point. Not 1 point. You couldn't put the ball in the basket. They wouldn't even let you get the ball to the floor, to get the ball in the shooting position and so forth. So both sports have magnificent qualities. So I think we should appreciate both of them. That's what I'm saying.
I have to agree with you now, but like Sam and Jake tried to say, but they said basketball is a better sport. Jake's reason why his point was that you have to have all this equipment to play lacrosse, and you need all these things, and that not everyone could afford that to play lacrosse. But think about this. Think about the amount of people who play pro lacrosse. And then in comparison to pro basketball.
Right?
But
Or just people who play lacrosse and basketball.
yeah, lacrosse and basketball.
Right.
But there are not a lot of people who can play pro basketball because of the size. I know a lot of people who are small and
They can be good lacrosse players.
they're very good lacrosse players. Like I was on a select team this year, and there was a really small person. His name was Jacob. He was one of the best players on the team. And then we had my friend Nick, who was he's a lot bigger than me, probably taller than you, and he plays defense, and he was also.
That's why I like the game.
Because anyone can
Anybody
play.
can play.
But basketball, not anyone can play.
Oh, if you're skilled enough, you can play.
But
I've seen little small guys out there. You remember a guy named Bugsy Bogues? He was 5'3" tall. Spud Webb, 5'7" tall. So if you're skilled
Boykins.
enough, Earl Boykins right now, thank you, 5'5". If you're skilled enough, you can play. I don't think you really watched basketball at the level where incredibly skilled players play this game. It becomes a thing of beauty.
okay, well, thank you. This is Back Talk on CBTV. I'm your host, Jake, with Sam, Jimmy, and Jake Stimmel. See you next week. Bye.